Welcome everybody from the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. It's great to have you here today. Once again, we're looking at our urban parking system repository that's been designed and developed in Enterprise Architect. My name's Scott Hebbard. I'm joined today by Stephen Maguire, and we are continuing to look at ArchiMate, and today we're looking at the Stakeholders Viewpoint. So welcome Stephen, great to have you here again with us today. Can you tell us a little bit about the Stakeholders Viewpoint within ArchiMate?
Thank you for the introduction, Scott, and always a pleasure to be here. Yes, we are going to be talking about ArchiMate and the ArchiMate Stakeholder Viewpoint. So let's get started. As always, we look at our perspective in the top right-hand corner. Earlier today, I've been doing some work with Kanban diagrams in Enterprise Architect. I'm going to change my perspective now to one focusing on ArchiMate. So we drop down the list of perspective sets, and in the Enterprise Architecture set, we have the ArchiMate perspective. Let's click on that. Now, here we have a number of patterns we've got, and we can look at those patterns there, and you can look at the stakeholder viewpoint, for example, and these can be injected into your model by simply selecting the Create Model button there at the top of the pattern, but they also contain information here that will help you and guide you through creating a stakeholder viewpoint. Scott, this is a great productivity tool, but as always, I like to do things from first principles. So I'm going to close that builder page, but I encourage people to return to it and get the productivity gains once they understand how to do this from first principles. We'll close the builder page there. We need to find a location for this work in our project browser. So we go off to the browser window, and I open the Enterprise node there, Enterprise Architecture and Business Architecture. And you can see that there are a number of viewpoints that we've created in earlier videos. So now I'm going to create another viewpoint. I simply click on that package, and I'm going to say create a new package by selecting this icon on the top corner of the application here in the browser toolbar. So let's call it the Stakeholder Viewpoint. And we could create a diagram, but I like to do
missing a W.
Ah, thank you, Scott. Well picked up. There we go, viewpoint. And let's create that, and we'll create a diagram separately. And we're going to leave that one where it is at the moment. Stakeholders are important in any modeling context. So let's create a diagram here, and we can see now that we've got the ArchiMate diagrams in focus there, and we've got motivation as a diagram types there. And you can see here, we've got the stakeholder view there. So let's click on that and say create diagram. We'll keep it as stakeholder viewpoint there. And you notice that Enterprise Architect restricts the elements to a smaller set, allowing us to start work. So our urban parking system has got a number of different stakeholders. In simple terms, we've got like a city government that's perhaps controlling some of the overarching regulations and the infrastructure for the parking meters themselves and other network infrastructure. But we also have city residents, local businesses, and a number of other things like commuters that are traveling. So let's just get started. Let's put a stakeholder in there, and I want to call this the city resident.
Yep.
And Scott, let's talk a little bit before we go on too much further about this stakeholder viewpoint as well, so we get a bit of a focus on what we're doing. We know we can create stakeholders there. I'm going to put some notes into this one, and this has come from the ArchiMate specification, and the stakeholder viewpoint allows the analyst to model the stakeholders, the internal and external drivers for change, and the assessments in terms of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities of these drivers, and also links to other items such as goals. So that gives us a bit of an idea as to the kind of things that are going to go onto this diagram. But Enterprise Architect has already done some of that work for you. It's good to check with the specification, but also good to be able to look at the toolbox and know that there are a number of things in that toolbox that give us a hint as to what is going to be on the diagram.
I can see assessments and goals and outcomes. So I think it's important that projects don't lose track of some of those strategic goals and can model them.
That's right, Scott. And where did I get that information from? Well, over here in the library, we looked at this in previous videos. We had set this up. We've got specifications and guidelines there. We've got the unified modeling language, the open group there, and we've got best practice guidelines that you can follow. So your organisation could develop those, and you can see that there are diagram-specific guidelines, general purpose guidelines, and all sorts of other ones there that we can look at. So the other thing here, we've got the resources here. Now, if I double click on this item here, what's happened is that's popped up on another monitor, Scott, but it's looking at the ArchiMate specification online. So this is where you get this information from. And if I look in here, you can see down in the appendices here, we've got a number of different options there. So example viewpoints. So that gives you some information about the viewpoints. It doesn't give you a diagram there that will show you, what should be on that, but it's a good reference, Scott, anyway, for people to look at. So I'm going to close that now and return to our diagram. So let's go back here, and we could keep that. Those guidelines, open there in another thing. Let's do that for a moment in another tab there, and we'll close that. We'll close this.
Could you theoretically dock that team document to the side so you could refer to it?
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. We could do that. We could just dock it over here if we wanted to, and put it there so we could refer to it at the same time. So yeah, well picked up, Scott. That's a useful thing to do. But let's put it back into our main tab group there, and we'll just focus on our diagram. So city residents, we need to, as always, Scott, be including notes as we go along. So let's put some notes in there, and let's create some more stakeholders here. Another stakeholder is the city government. It might be called different things in your own jurisdictions, council, or local government, or something like that. But that's an important stakeholder in this whole business of the parking meter system. So again, let's put some notes in for that there. I'll click off the italics, and we keep moving along. Now, before we get too far, we've got a number of other stakeholders, but let's take this down vertically a little bit and have a think about the kind of things that we might want in our model. So a city government might be interested, for example, in revenue. So there might be a revenue requirement. This is not actually a requirement itself, but a driver. So let's put that driver on there and say we'll put it as a revenue requirement. And so don't be confused by that. That's the driver that the city government is interested in. And let's put some notes on that to describe. I think most people would understand why a local government or a city government would need money. So the city needs to generate sufficient income to fund the public services and infrastructure through monetization. So, that's going in there. And let's put a relationship between there. I can use the quick linker. And again, Enterprise Architect does the work for you. Just as with the toolbox, it showed you what elements are useful or can be on this view. And here we've got a number of items restricted to the ones that ArchiMate allows you to use. So we use associated there. We could use influences, but I'm going to choose associate there. So another thing that people would do is in this situation is when they're looking at this driver, they might want to do an assessment. So ArchiMate is very rich in this sense. It's got assessments as an element there. We can put that onto the diagram.
So what are you assessing?
Well, we're looking at the revenue opportunity assessment. So it can be any type of assessment. The ArchiMate doesn't define what your assessments must be, but it's a general purpose element to allow you to assess the opportunity, for example, the situation caused by the driver. So example, it might be, competitive analysis that you want to do. So you want to do an assessment of, where you sit within the competition. So
and they might want to see how much revenue they generate for the city currently, in comparison to how much a rip off the parking is.
Yeah, well, let's have a look and see. We'll put some notes into this one and see analysis of the current and potential revenue streams from parking systems, including pricing strategies, compliant rates, and operational efficiency. Assessment qualifies the financial performance of the system, identifies the opportunities for revenue optimization, right? So there's going to be, the opportunity to increase the revenue by putting the parking fines up, by extending the times, by doing all sorts of other things that that they could perform to increase that revenue. So after doing that, after putting that assessment in, the thing we need to think about now is a goal. So let's have a look at that and see what is the goal of the city government. And important here, Scott, let's have a look at the way I've named this one. And it says, I'll just focus in that. I'm going to use my pan and zoom window there to zoom in on that element. You can see that. Increase the parking revenue by 20% within 24 months. So a relatively aggressive tact that they're taking, the goal that they're setting. But it's important, Scott, that when you're doing these things, that if you don't do it initially, at least when you go back and refactor, put in some measurable quantitative values there. So you could put increased parking revenue, but it's not quantitative enough. You might do that initially because you're not sure what you're going to, kind of quantitative values you want to put in there, but it is good practice to be able to put things in that are measurable. So put a name for that element in, and then some notes as well. So maximize the financial return for the parking assets while maintaining appropriate price points for different user groups. Goal 6, to balance revenue generation with other objectives. So let's put a connector in between this. I'll return to that resolution, and we'll put in a connector between this driver here. That's the driver, and we'll use the quick linker, and again we get told what we can use, and we'll say influences. So that driver is influencing the assessment, and we can put in, actually let's change that. Before we do that, let's change this to an association. It's going to go over here and I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to click on the properties window, the connector panel there, and click on these 3 dots next to the stereotype. And
so you can always go and change
it, yeah. But I'll do it. I'll do it here. I can show you that you can just delete the thing as well. Yep. And let's put that back in again, and we'll put an association in this time. It's a little bit less specific. So now we're going to link up our assessment with our goal, and we're going to use influences on that one. So we can keep this story going further down. And so the other thing we've got on the palette, if you look at it, Scott, is an outcome. So this is what we're driving for. Even though we've got that goal, we still can have an outcome that's got more specific information in it as well. So let's have a look at that. You may not want to put both of them quantitatively, but it's good practice to do that. So let me just put this window back up here and put this information into the notes here. So let's put this one again. That goal is going to influence that outcome there. So we'll put that one in there. Now we've done a whole vertical sort of slice through our diagram, if you like. Now you can do things to to tidy this up a little bit. You can see there we've got those guidelines that are working out. We've got them evenly spaced. You can see by those little annotations on the side that it's evenly spaced and they're lined up. So we don't need to do anything else at all. That's doing all the work for us. And let's have a look. Scott, we've got our city resident in there, so we haven't followed that one through, but we're going to. And let's have a look here and see at this little inline specification. We haven't looked at that before with ArchiMate, but let's do that. I'm going to click on that. We'll save our diagram first. And you can see here, Scott, that this is showing me that I've got all of my elements that have got notes on them. Yeah, so I'm going to close that. I'll just use the chevron to put that back again. So if I did put another stakeholder on here, let's have a look at another stakeholder that we want to have, a local business owner. So they're an important part of this urban parking meter system because they're important as they are, they're running their business inside the city or the urban environment, and they need to have parking provided for their customers. Let's put them on there, and we'll local business owner. Now let's imagine that we forgot we were a bit sloppy and we didn't put any notes into that element. So I'll save the diagram again, and then I'll go and use this inline specification manager. Now I can just quickly flick through here, and you can see that local business owners don't have yet any notes. So it's a good little checking system to make sure that you've annotated your diagrams well. I encourage people to do that. But Scott, we've done, like I said, this vertical slice through here, giving people the idea of what can be connected and how that vertical slice works. I'm going to get you to do some time travel magic, and I'll finish this diagram off, and we'll be back in just a few seconds.
I've conducted a little bit of time travel and editing magic, and here we are with our completed diagram. And I can see up the top we've got our city residents, our city government, and our local business owners. And I can see that they're connected. Oh, and there's commuters over there as well. So can you tell us a little bit about the completed diagram and some of the values and benefits that it offers?
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Good to be back. We have finished the diagram, and we've taken these stakeholders here, the city residents, the city government, the local business owner, and the commuters, and we've taken those down through the various levels there. Remember our toolbox, I've just got that hidden away. We've got stakeholders, drivers, goals, or assessments, goals and outcomes. So we've pretty much followed the lead of the toolbox order there. But the diagram now is a lot richer. I'm going to tuck that toolbox away there for the moment, and we'll look at some of these elements. Now, all of them have got notes, including the diagram. You can see the diagram overview notes there, and I've put that onto the diagram down here as well. And I've used the trick there, Scott. If you're not familiar with this, I'm just going to right mouse click on here and show you advanced. So by dropping a note on and then linking it to the diagram notes, that displays the diagram notes that are appearing in the docked window there on the diagram. Very useful if you are publishing this information into a document or something like that. You might want to have that available. You might even just want to print the diagram, and of course that's available from the publish ribbon there. I can just say save the diagram to file onto the clipboard, and then those notes go with it as well. The other thing that I've put on here, Scott, is a legend, which I've got from a universal place up here. We've got a library of items, checklists, images, and legends, and I've simply dropped that legend on. So I'll just do that again and show people how that works. The colors of the connectors have now been neutralized back to this grey color. If I get that legend and put it onto the diagram there, you can see now that it's coloring all the connectors. So let's have a look at it. Like we said, a vertical slice. Let's take now the local business owners. So they've got these drivers here that use urban mobility needs, the necessity of efficient movement of people and goods through the urban environment, because the local business might be taking things at their dock. They might be loading things onto trucks to send to customers and all sorts of other things. So they've got those mobility needs, and also got this business access needs. So the requirement for convenient customer and delivery access to commercial establishments to ensure business viability. Then, of course, we've got this urban mobility needs here. So if someone's conducted a congestion assessment, evaluation of the traffic flow patterns, parking search times, and overall transportation networks, I've arrived at my destination to perhaps pick up a toy for my child, only to find out that I can't park outside the particular business. Very frustrating. In the end, I might have to drive off and choose another toy shop to purchase that, and that is obviously frustrating and has a negative deleterious effect on the local business. So after the assessment, we've got a goal here: reduce the traffic congestion by 15% in the first year, and then we've got an outcome: reduce traffic congestion and increase traffic flow by 12%. So this one is couched a bit differently: reduce the congestion and increase traffic speed by 12%. So that's something that can be measured there. And all of these other elements follow this thing in a similar vein. And we can look at, the commuters. They've got convenient parking needs, user experience assessment, achieve 85% user satisfaction rating by the end of the year, violation rates reduced by 35%. So lots of outcomes there. So that's the stakeholder viewpoint, Scott. Not going to go into any more detail other than just to show this again and to check that with the diagram saved there, that all of our elements have got notes on them. And this provides a very, just I guess a narrative form of the diagram, if you like. It's almost like someone's just converted the diagram to a story, and you can see now, while it's not joining up the connectors, you're not seeing the connection between them, but you can read through it and figure out what all these different things are. And like you said, you could
it tells a very comprehensive story about what's going on with the diagram. Yeah.
And so as I'm selecting an element there, you can see that's moving to the right point in that. It's very simple to read. But that's it, Scott. It's a really useful, one of my favorite viewpoints in ArchiMate. It tells a story right from the top, from the stakeholder, the drivers, and gives you a really good indication of, what goals you're seeking and what outcomes you're wanting to achieve.
No, that's fantastic. Thanks, Stephen. It's been great to see it all come together, and I can see how there would be many city governments that would find this quite useful for keeping on track and making sure that they meet those goals. So that's fantastic. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, we would encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe to Sparx Systems YouTube channel. We always appreciate your feedback, and we like to grow the channel and provide you with even more free videos that teach you about Enterprise Architect and other Sparx Systems tools. If you have any questions about ArchiMate or this particular stakeholder viewpoint, you can reach out to Stephen using his credentials that are listed in the video description below, and that includes his LinkedIn details and his website. Once again, thanks for your comprehensive overview. It's been great to learn a lot about ArchiMate, and look forward to seeing you in the next video, Stephen.
Always a pleasure, Scott.